Marriage teaches people many things: patience, understanding, forgiveness, and sometimes painful truths that change the way we see ourselves forever. My name is Aisha, and for most of my life, I believed love was simple. I believed that when two people respect each other and build a home together, nothing could shake that bond. But life has a strange way of testing even the strongest hearts, and one confession from someone I never expected changed the course of my thoughts, my emotions, and the way I understood loyalty and responsibility. When I married my husband Hamza, I was young, hopeful, and full of dreams about building a peaceful family. Hamza was a kind man who worked hard and spoke softly. He never raised his voice, never made promises he could not keep, and always treated me with dignity. We did not have a luxurious life, but we had respect for each other, and that felt more valuable than wealth. Our home slowly became a place where relatives visited often, laughter filled the evenings, and meals were shared with warmth. Among those relatives was Hamza's nephew, Samir, who was only a teenager when I first met him. Samir used to visit our home during school holidays. At that time, he was quiet, respectful, and shy. I treated him like a younger brother, sometimes even like a son, reminding him to study, offering him food, and listening when he talked about school or dreams for the future. Years passed, and life moved forward as it always does. Samir grew older, went to college, and slowly became a confident young man. His visits became less frequent, but whenever he came, he greeted me with the same respect he always had. Meanwhile, my own life was not without challenges. Hamza's work often required him to travel to other cities for weeks at a time. Managing the house alone sometimes felt lonely, but I reminded myself that sacrifice was part of building a stable future. I kept myself busy with household responsibilities, helping neighbors when they needed support, and waiting patiently for Hamza to return from his trips. One evening, when Hamza was away for work again, Samir visited our house after many months. He looked different, older, more serious, carrying the weight of adulthood in his expression. I welcomed him warmly and asked about his studies and career plans. At first, our conversation was normal, just like always. We spoke about family members, about life, and about how quickly time passes. But as the evening grew quiet, I noticed something unusual in his behavior. He seemed nervous, as if he was struggling with something he wanted to say, but was afraid of the consequences. I assumed he might be facing difficulties with studies or work, so I encouraged him to speak openly. I told him that families should always support each other in difficult times. What he said next was something I never expected to hear in my life. He looked at me with a mixture of guilt and fear and said that he had been carrying a heavy feeling in his heart for a long time. He told me that during the years he spent visiting our home, he had unknowingly developed emotions that he knew were wrong. He said that as he grew older, he realized those feelings were not appropriate, and that realization filled him with shame. He said he respected his uncle deeply and that he had never acted on those feelings, but the burden of hiding them had been troubling him for years. For a moment, I felt as if time had stopped. I could not believe what I was hearing. The quiet house suddenly felt unfamiliar, and my heart was filled with confusion. I had always seen Samir as family, someone younger who needed guidance and encouragement. The thought that he had struggled with such emotions shocked me deeply. But what struck me even more was the honesty in his voice. He was not proud of what he felt. He was ashamed and clearly seeking peace by confessing something he had been hiding for years. I realized that in that moment, my reaction would determine whether he learned a lesson about respect and responsibility or carried this confusion further in his life. I took a deep breath and reminded myself that anger would not solve anything. Instead, I spoke calmly. I told him that feelings sometimes appear in life without warning, especially when people are young and still learning about emotions. But what truly defines a person is the choices they make afterward. I reminded him that family relationships are sacred and must be protected with honesty and discipline. Tears appeared in his eyes as he listened. He said that was exactly why he wanted to confess. He wanted to remove that weight from his heart and ensure that he never allowed those feelings to influence his actions or disrespect the family that had supported him. That conversation lasted a long time. We spoke about responsibility, about self-control, and about how maturity means understanding the boundaries that protect relationships. I told him that he should focus on building his own life, finding someone who would truly belong in his future, and creating a family built on the right foundation. Before leaving, Samir apologized sincerely. He promised that he would always respect me as his aunt, and that he would work hard to become someone his family could be proud of. When he left the house that night, I sat quietly for a long time, reflecting on everything that had happened. For several days, I struggled with whether I should tell Hamza about the conversation. I believed honesty was important in marriage, yet I also understood that Samir had come forward out of guilt and a desire to correct himself. I spent many nights thinking deeply about what the right decision would be. Eventually, I chose honesty. When Hamza returned from his work trip, I gently told him about the conversation. I explained every detail honestly, making it clear that Samir had never acted disrespectfully and that he had confessed only because he wanted to do the right thing. Hamza listened quietly. At first, he was shocked, just as I had been. But after thinking about it carefully, he surprised me with his calm response. He said that young people sometimes face confusing emotions, and the important thing was that Samir had recognized his mistake and chosen honesty instead of hiding it. A few weeks later, Hamza spoke privately with Samir. Their conversation was serious but compassionate. Hamza told him that he appreciated his honesty and that true character is revealed when someone admits their mistakes and learns from them. He encouraged Samir to focus on his future and never allow temporary emotions to damage lifelong relationships. Years have passed since that day, and life moved forward again. Samir eventually built a successful career and later married a wonderful woman who truly brought happiness into his life. Whenever our families gather now, there is mutual respect and a quiet understanding of the lesson that shaped all of us. Looking back, I realized that the situation could have destroyed trust, caused anger, and broken family bonds. But patience, honesty, and maturity turned a painful confession into an opportunity for growth. Life sometimes places us in uncomfortable situations that test our character. In those moments, it is easy to react with anger or fear. But when people choose honesty, self-control, and respect, even the most difficult situations can become lessons that strengthen relationships instead of destroying them. The confession that once shook my heart eventually became a reminder that true loyalty is not only about avoiding mistakes, it is about recognizing them, correcting them, and protecting the people we love. And the most important lesson I learned from that day is simple but powerful. Real strength in relationships comes not from perfection, but from honesty, respect, and the courage to choose what is right even when emotions try to lead us in the wrong direction.